You know that feeling when you just know something big is about to happen? Like you can feel it in your bones, and if you're not paying attention right now, you're going to kick yourself later when everyone else is celebrating their wins. Well, I've got something pretty incredible to share with you today that's going to completely change how you're looking at this market. I'm talking about some serious news from the SEC, a bunch of crypto-friendly moves happening in Washington, and honestly, I'm about to show you some behind-the-scenes stuff from meetings that most people have never even heard about. I've actually got the tweet right here. If you're thinking this whole crypto cycle is winding down, you're in for a surprise. Trust me, we're just getting warmed up here. Stick around because once you see what I'm seeing, it's going to click for you. All these puzzle pieces are falling into place, and XRP, it's sitting right there in the sweet spot of everything that's happening. All right, let's dive right in. We've got tons to cover today, so I might be talking pretty quickly here. Bitcoin's sitting at $118,606 right now, down about 1.73% from yesterday. Ethereum's looking pretty good at 4,282, actually up 1.78%. And XRP, oh man, it's at $3.15, but took a little hit today, down 2.63%. The total crypto market cap is hanging out at 3.97 trillion, so close to that magical 4 trillion mark, I can practically taste it. Here's the thing though, we really need to see some action happen. These markets need to absolutely explode this August, and I'm telling you, I can feel it building up. Something big is coming, I just know it. Okay, here we go. The information is finally coming out, and honestly, I had a hunch it was going to be today. I've been hearing whispers about this all week, and I even tweeted on Monday that something big was brewing. So here it is. We already kind of knew this was happening, but now we've got the official stamp for all you folks who need to see it in black and white. The SEC just updated their website talking about the litigation, and guess what? It's over. Done. Finished. Boom. Look, here's Hester Pierce talking about it, and here she is again. Wait, I thought I had a different tweet saved. Let me find the one from Paul Atkins. Yeah, here it is. Paul Atkins weighing in on everything. So the SEC finally put out. Why didn't we see that pump, you ask? Simple answer, manipulation, plain and simple. Now look, most people are just going to skim those headlines and think, cool, lawsuit's done, moving on. But if you've been in this crypto game for a while, you get it. This isn't just about Ripple. This is way bigger than that. We're talking about setting a precedent here. For the first time ever, we've got a major US regulator basically saying, maybe not with their words, but definitely with their actions, that XRP can operate without this massive legal storm cloud hanging over it. And that changes everything. It opens the floodgates for all those US institutions who've been sitting on the sidelines. I can only think of one other asset that has this kind of regulatory clarity, and that's Bitcoin. Just think about how the conversations have shifted. It used to be, hey, call me back when you guys get that SEC thing figured out. Now it's, all right, we're good to go. Let's schedule that meeting. All those custodians, exchanges, payment processors, they've been waiting for exactly this green light. They've been ready to move, just needed that official okay. And here's what gets me excited. You don't have years and years of pent-up demand just sitting there waiting, and then have it all get unleashed without seeing some serious fireworks in the market. This is XRP's transformation moment. It's going from being that lawsuit coin to being the compliant cross-border settlement solution. And the timing? It's almost too perfect with everything else happening in the bigger picture right now. And then boom, Michael drops his XRP chart on us. He was thinking we might dip back down to that $2.40 to $2.50 range, but we didn't quite hit those levels. Now he's saying if we can't get back above $3.40, we might see that pullback he was talking about. But listen, don't look at this chart and start panicking or anything. Yeah, it's a pretty big dip, but we're this deep into a bull run here. When you see a correction like this so late in the game, we'd literally need like 2 world wars breaking out for the whole market to completely crash and burn. That's not happening today, and it's not happening tomorrow either. Here's what's really wild though. Ripple was stuck in court all these years. The entire financial landscape has been completely reshuffling itself. And now, everything is pointing in the exact same direction. We've got rate cuts coming. They're opening up 401ks to crypto. Altcoin ETFs are about to get the green light. Oh, and get this. There's $7.8 trillion just sitting there in money markets doing absolutely nothing. You know what that spells out? We're looking at a massive liquidity explosion just waiting to blow up. Your average retail investor still thinks we already hit the top. They're calling this the blow-off peak and getting ready to head home. Meanwhile, the smart money, they know the real euphoric stage hasn't even walked through the door yet. Right now, we're still hanging out in the parking lot before the party even starts. We're still hanging out by the pickup truck after the concert, cracking open some cold ones. Look, when that massive wall of cash finally starts flowing into risk assets and crypto sitting there with all its legal ducks in a row, ETF approvals, retirement account access, the whole 9 yards, we're going to see price action that'll make 2021 look like a gentle warm-up jog. Now, here's where things get really wild, and honestly, this might completely flip your perspective on where XRP is headed. I didn't stumble across this in some random article either. Nope, saw this on Twitter last night. There was this really compelling thread, well-written, almost like the guy was actually there in the room, posted by Lord Belgrave, and man, it really gets your wheels turning. He's claiming he was sitting right across the boardroom table from the people who literally control the world's money. Says back in 2016, 2017, he witnessed something that most regular investors still won't wrap their heads around. According to him, the big shots from Barclays, HSBC, DBS, Wells Fargo, they were already positioning themselves around XRP. The guy swears he was right there in that room. Now hold up. Before we dive deeper into this rabbit hole, let's definitely take this with a massive grain of salt. We have no clue if this guy's legit, but here's the thing that's kind of freaky. Some of what he's saying lines up way too perfectly. These companies he's mentioning, they're all known Ripple partners. But here's where it gets even crazier. He says these weren't just some random crypto enthusiasts throwing around speculation. We're talking about group treasuries, heads of correspondent banking, FX settlement directors, basically the people who move trillions of dollars around like it's nothing. These are the folks who literally are the arteries of global finance. And according to him, they weren't sitting around debating whether to use XRP. They were arguing about how soon they could make it happen. This guy claims the first meetings he witnessed were locked down with NDAs so tight that even the junior employees had no idea what was on the agenda. But he knew because his job was putting together briefing papers for cross-border settlement talk, and XRP kept showing up in those presentation decks with code names. He says Barclays' internal tech memos from 2016 were already talking about, quote, on-demand liquidity and, quote, permissioned ledgers. HSBC's innovation team was calling it, quote, real-time cross-border settlement. DBS labeled it, quote, instant regional clearing. And Wells Fargo, they went with, quote, tokenized liquidity rails. So why XRP specifically? His answer is pretty compelling. Unlike Bitcoin or Ethereum, XRP was actually built to handle the massive sums these banks move, instantly, with finality, and zero counterparty risk. That's absolutely huge. Plus, it was designed to play nice with all the legacy systems they already owned. Swift, GPI, Nostro Vostro accounts, CLS. This wasn't about some crypto revolution or ideology. Look, it all came down to efficiency and control. People think retail believes banks are fighting crypto, but he sets the record straight on that. Banks aren't fighting crypto, they're fighting each other. Back in 2016, 2017, they quietly came to an agreement that XRP would be their shared neutral bridge. Smart move, really. Nobody gets an unfair advantage over their competitors. Of course, all they talked about publicly was, quote, blockchain exploration. But here's where it gets really interesting. He reveals that Barclays was actually running live corridors with RippleNet across Europe. HSBC, they were using Ripple for settlement stress testing. DBS built out corridors for Asia-Pacific remittances XRP as the bridge asset. And get this, Wells Fargo was exploring replacing their entire FX swap decks with tokenized liquidity using XRP. He left banking in 2020 thinking he was late to the party. XRP was already sitting at 18 cents when he bought in with his bonus. But looking back now, man, he was incredibly early. Most people still have zero clue what's actually coming. Here's his message now, coming from someone who's actually seen the playbook. XRP is going way higher than anyone's wildest dreams. Think about it. Bankers don't build massive infrastructure for $5 coins. They build for the next global standard. So stack accordingly. That's just what he's sharing here. He says he's got the rest. Documents, timelines, names, and he's spreading it everywhere. Now look, the real... But I'm reading through all this, seeing these names he's dropping, and they're legit familiar. We know for a fact these banks have been testing this tech. So some of what he's saying, it's lining up. How much is actually true, though? That's the big unknown. Here's what I can tell you for certain, though. Ripple's legal mess, done, gone. The macro setup right now, perfect for a huge liquidity explosion. And these massive institutions controlling trillions, yeah, they've already done their XRP research. This isn't crypto hype or some pipe dream. This is literal years of background work all coming together at the same time. The next few months aren't about wondering if something massive is about to happen. They're about whether you're going to be positioned right when it does. So keep your eyes open, people. Be smart about how you position, because once that switch gets flipped, there's no do-overs on getting in early.